Hi, I'm Satyam and this is the fourth video in our Typescript series. So in this video we are going to see what arrays are in Typescript. So let's get started. So let us start with a very simple definition of array. So array is nothing more than a collection of data. Okay, so if you have a lot of data and you want to collect all that data and then refer to that data with a single variable name, that's basically what array is, okay, in a way. So an array is just a collection of data. Suppose you have a lot of names in your program and you want to collect all those names and then refer to those names with the help of a single variable, then you can do that with the help of arrays. So in order to understand arrays better, let's get into the computer screen. And here I'm using the Typescript playground. Okay, it is an online tool. So first of all, we are going to understand things here and then we are going to go to the VS Code. We will actually create a program and then we will run it there. So suppose that you have a database, okay, and yes, this is not a video for database, but suppose that you have a database for students. Okay, you are a school website and you have a database for students, okay, for each class. And in each class there are many students, like just say class 1 has around 60 students, class 2 has around 70 students. Okay, so they can be different. Now suppose you want to get the names of the students from class 1 from your database. Okay, so you get the names of students from class 1 from your database, and let's just say names are Sneha, Rajesh, I think one more is needed if I could type Rajesh correctly, and then let's just say Rohit works, right? So these are the three names that we have in our database. Okay, suppose that the class 1 only have 3 students and these are the 3 students. Okay, now you get the names from your database and now you need to store these names in your program, right? Because you will need to use these names in your program somehow. So how are you going to get these names in the program? Yes, you get it from the database, but where are you going to put these in your program? Well, one way is to create multiple variables, like let name1 of type string, then let name2. Similarly, the name3 will also be there, so let name3 of type string. Okay, so right now we have this, we have name1, name2 and name3 variable. Okay, we have 3 variables, and after getting the names from the database, what we can do is we can simply go ahead and do something like this: name1 is equals to Sneha. So now this is one way to do this, right? To actually get all these names and then start using these names in our program. Now we can just use these variables name1, name2 and name3 to do whatever we want. Okay, to call any functions, to pass in any function or anything. Okay, you can do anything you want in your program with these names with the help of these 3 variables. But suppose that there are actually 60 students in the class 1, then are you going to create 60 variables? Okay, that is the question, right? I mean, yes, you can go ahead and create 60 variables, but then suppose that one more student joins, okay, the class 1, and now there are 61, and at that point you will actually have to come back to your code, add a new variable, and you will have to make changes directly into your code just because one more person entered the class, right? And that is not something very good, that is not efficient, that is simply a headache, right? And this is the kind of situation that arrays are very useful. So one way is this. Okay, yes, you can go ahead and create multiple variables and store the names in those variables, but one way is using arrays. Okay, an array is nothing more than a collection of data. So we have collection Sneha, Rajesh and Rohit. Okay, we have this collection of data and we can store it in a single variable with the help of array. Okay, so let me just declare an array here. Okay, let names of type string, and now here is the declaration of array. You put brackets, okay, like this, and which means this variable will actually store arrays now. So names is equals to, now we can actually store arrays. Okay, so array is basically a collection, and so we are going to store names Sneha, Rajesh and what, Rohit. Yes. So now we are storing 3 names in a single variable, right? So now we are storing 3 names in a single variable, right? So names, this variable contains all these 3 names. Okay, earlier we had to use multiple variables, but now we can just use a single variable. And this is the declaration of array. This is how you create an array. You first of all tell what kind of data you want to store, or what kind of data will be in the collection, and then you place this square brackets to tell the compiler that okay, I'm going to create an array, or basically a collection of string data type. Okay, because all of these names are strings, so I'm basically creating a collection of string data types. And this is how you actually create an array. Now the question comes that okay, I want to get Sneha only from this array. How do I do this, right? And there is a way for this. Okay, so let us understand how indexing works. So as you can see here that Sneha is on the first number in the array, then Rajesh is on second number, then Rohit is on third number, and this number is decided by how we are actually inputting the data into our array. So I created, or I entered Sneha first, so it is first, then Rajesh, so it is second, and then Rohit, so it is on the third number. Now the thing is that in arrays you do not start with 1. Okay, in arrays you start with 0. So it is a 0 based numbering. So Sneha is on 0 number or 0 position, Rajesh is on first position, and Rohit is on second position. So in order to get the Sneha, you have to tell the compiler that okay, get me Sneha which is on the first position in the array names. Okay, so what you can do is, let's just console log it. Okay, console dot log and names. So we are going to tell what we want. Okay, so from the names array, I want the element number 0 from the names array. So I'm just going to write the names, and let me just make it a little bigger so that people will be able to see it better. Okay, and in the names let's just enter 0. Okay, so which means that I am trying to access, or I'm trying to get the element at the 0th position in the array. Okay, so now as you can see, if I just run it, then you can see that we have this Sneha. Okay, we are getting our data back, and similarly we can also get Rajesh also. So I'll just put 1 here, run it again, and you can see that we are getting Rajesh. Okay, so this is how arrays actually works. Okay, this is basically the use cases of arrays. One of the use cases of arrays. Arrays are very useful in many different situations. Now let us see more ways to declare an array. Okay, so here what we are doing is we are creating an array, okay, names, and then we are immediately giving it value. Okay, but what if you don't know what the values will be? Right now we knew that these are the names. Okay, but what if you don't know? Because when you are getting the names from the database, you will not know what the names actually are, right? So what you can do in that situation is you can simply go ahead and remove this. Okay, you remove this, and now your basically your names array is created. Okay, and this is your names array. Your array is created. Now you can actually start filling in the values. Okay, now but remember that right now we have no value in the names array. No value means nothing. It is not even empty. Okay, empty means empty array, but it is not even empty. What I mean is that if I try to console log it, console.log names. Okay, I try to console log this array. What will I get? I will get undefined. Okay, I'm not getting null or empty array. I'm just getting undefined. And undefined is because we are declaring, or we are basically telling the compiler that hey, names is an array, but we are not giving it any value, not even an empty array. So suppose that you don't want this undefined, okay, in your code. So what you can do is you can simply go ahead and start by creating an empty array. Okay, so like this, I'm not giving any data in this square brackets here, so it is an empty array. Now if we actually run it, then you will see that okay, I'm getting an empty array. Okay, if I start adding values like Sneha, and then I run it again, then you can see that we have one thing in our empty array now. These are the two most common ways to create or declare array in your Typescript code. But once you have declared an empty array like this, okay, how do you actually insert or add data into it? Okay, so we are going to focus on 4 major functions, because there are many functions in the arrays. Okay, many functions, and you will have to learn those functions as you start to use them. So here are the 4 most important functions, or most used functions, I would say. So the first one is push. Okay, then pop, then we have shift. Okay, shift, we have unshift. Okay, so these are the 4 functions in the Typescript that we are going to look at right now in this video. Okay, so we have the names array, and now I want to insert, okay, at the end of the array. So inserting at the end, right? What I can do is I can just go ahead and say names array push, names array dot push. We are pushing an element into the array, or we are basically throwing an element into the array. So suppose that I push um, Rajneesh, okay, I don't know what kind of name it is, but I am pushing this name into the names array. Okay, and now if I try to console log the names, you can see that we have a Rajneesh. Okay, now if I do it again one more time, okay, names dot push, let's just say Priyanka. Okay, so this is the name, and I am pushing one more name after Rajneesh, and I run it again. As you can see that we have this. Okay, the next name is actually added at the last. Okay, at the last position of the array. This is what the push function do. It inserts the element at the end of the array. Okay, now suppose that you want to actually remove a few names. Okay, so removing from end, because you can actually want to just remove things from the end. Removing from end, right? And what you can do is you can just go ahead and say names dot pop. Okay, you are basically throwing away a value. Okay, so you don't actually have to write anything or give any input in the pop. Okay, you can just say names dot pop, and it will take the last name pushed and it will remove it. Okay, now if I actually try to run it again, so well, I just cleared the logs for you because I had to refresh the website, it was not working. So yes, let us now actually run it again. Okay, and if I just run it again, you can see that all we have is Rajneesh in the array now. Okay, so we added this name, then we added this name. Okay, and then we popped one name. Okay, we basically popped the name at the end, and then the only thing that we got in the array is Rajneesh. Okay, and this is how popping or removing from the end works. Now suppose that you want to actually insert something at the start of the array, right? So before Rajneesh, how you are going to do this? So insert at start, right? So what I can do is names dot unshift. Okay, in this names dot unshift, I can just add a name, like just say Radhika. Okay, and I run it again, and as you can see that Radhika is added before Rajneesh, which means at the start. And similarly, we can also pop, or we can actually remove the element from the start. Okay, and you can do this with the help of shift function. So remove from start. Okay, and it will be like names dot shift. You don't have to put any parameter into it. Also, you can just say names dot shift. Okay, if I could write the name spelling correctly. So now that we have written this, we can just run it again, and as you can see that Radhika is gone, we actually have Rajneesh. Okay, so we have removed an element from the start. But now comes one more question, and that is, what if you have something in the middle of the array that you want to remove, right? You know how to remove from the start, you know how to remove from the end, but do you know how to remove from the middle, right? So let me just add a few things here. So names dot let's just do this. Okay, let's just copy paste this. So I'll just copy this and paste it here. We are just adding a few more things. Okay, and yeah, so basically we have 3 names right now. Okay, and let me just run it. Yes, so as you can see, we have 3 names in the array. Now we want to remove Rahika. Okay, we want to remove this particular element from the array. What we can do is we can use a method called splice. Okay, so removing a particular element from array. Okay, we can do this with the help of splice variable. So names dot splice function, sorry, not variable. And in the splice function, what you give is the starting index or the starting position from which you want to start deleting the elements. So suppose that you have many elements that you want to delete. What you can do is you can give the starting index from which you want to start deleting the element, and then you can give the number of elements that you want to delete after the starting elements. Okay, so we are going to delete the Rahika, which is at the index 1. Okay, so it is starting at the index 1, which means it will start by deleting Rahika. And how many elements do we want to delete after that? Just one, right? So we want to delete only one element and the starting index is 1. So only Rahika will be deleted. And if I just run it again, okay, I run it, and as you can see that Rahika is gone. We have only Rajnish and Priyanka. Now what you can do is you can actually give more, right? I mean, like just say you just wanted to delete Rahika and the Priyanka both. Then what you can do is you can just tell 2, okay, which means from Rahika it will delete 2 elements in the array. So if I run it again, now you can see that we only have Rajnish. Okay, so basically till here in the program we got 3 names. Okay, and then once we do this, once we run it on this line, what we do is we remove the last 2 elements. So these are basically the basic CRUD operation that you do on arrays, removing, deleting, updating and all that stuff, right? You can actually update also. So suppose that you want to update Rajnish. Okay, so you have something on the 0th position. Now you want to update it. What you can do is you can take that element from the 0 position and say that okay, the new value will be Hitesh. Good one, right? So what is happening right now is that we are taking the element at the first position in the array, and basically we are adding a new value. Sorry, not adding, we are updating that value from the Hitesh. Okay, so if I run it here, you can see that Rajnish is gone, and now we actually have Hitesh in the 0th position. And this is how you update, delete, insert elements in the array. Now till now we have seen a lot of things in the array, right? But there is one more way to declare an array, okay, and that is by using the array class. So let's just say let new array of type array, and then here you can write string, right? Remember that we are actually doing everything for string right now, but the same thing is applicable for numbers, booleans and any other type of data in the Typescript. Okay, but we are taking the example of string because it is easier to understand. And this is basically the same thing. Okay, this is literally the same thing. This, okay, this declaration and this declaration at the starting is basically the same thing. Okay, don't confuse between the two. They will work the same, they will behave the same. Okay, so basically you can actually declare array like this also. Now the reason I did not use this one, because this actually uses generics. Okay, and generics is a concept that we have not dealt with till now. So it is not something that I was eager to tell you about, but it's something that you should know about. Okay, you can actually declare array like this also. Now there is one more thing, or a little bit of advanced topic that I want to touch upon. Right now we are not going to go in depth of this topic because this thing is not really used a lot, but it is something that you should know about. Okay, so now there is one more thing that I want to touch upon in this video, and that thing is actually a little bit advanced topic which you probably will not use in the early phases of your learning, but it is something that you should know about because you might actually see this in a lot of places in open source code and other places, and you might actually need to use it also in your personal projects. So there is a concept called multi-dimensional arrays. Okay, so multi-dimensional array is a very, very fancy name, but it's a very simple thing. Okay, multi-dimensional array means an array that contains another array. That's all. Okay, that's all it is. So let us understand this thing with the help of an example. Okay, so here in the above example we had class 1 and we had class 2, right? We had many students in class 1 and we had many students in class 2. We used the array, okay, the single array, to actually store the names of students from the class 1. But what if we are getting names from class 1, class 2, class 3, class 4, class 5, like many classes, okay, and then we are trying to store these names. I mean, if we try to store all these names in this single array, or basically one dimensional array, then what will happen is that we will not know which names belong to which class, okay, class 1 or class 2. We will not know, right? Because everything will just be stored in a single line, okay, just like that. So how are we going to solve this issue? Well, one way is to use multi-dimensional array. Okay, and let me just give you a little example of what will happen if we do not use multi-dimensional array. So suppose that class 2 actually have let's just say 2 students. Okay, Rahika and Radha. Okay, so we have these two students in our class 2. Okay, and if we try to take all these names and store it into the single array, what will happen is that we will actually end up storing these things. Okay, just like that. Let me just copy and paste it. It's easier and faster to copy paste. Rahika also. So now we have all the names in a single array, right? And this is good. We have all the names, all the data, right, at our fingertips. But the question is, how are we going to figure out where Rahika belongs, right? Does Rahika belong to class 1 or class 2? How are we going to figure out where Rajesh belongs? Does Rajesh belong to class 1 or class 2, right? So this is an ambiguity. This is something that a design level thing, okay? It is something for the user, okay? The user should be able to understand these kind of things. So how are we going to solve this issue? Well, we can actually solve this issue with the help of multi-dimensional arrays. So let me just go ahead and create a multi-dimensional array, and we are going to create a 2D array. Okay, so 2D means two-dimensional array. So let names 2D is equals to, or sorry, declaring array. So we are going to have array of strings, and this is a single array. Okay, single level array or one-dimensional array. You want to create a two-dimensional array, just add one more bracket. Okay, you want to create three-dimensional array, just one more. This is how you do it. Okay, and now what we can do is we can create or model our data. So a two-dimensional array is actually an array in which you can store multiple arrays. So we have single level array here, okay, and inside of this array we can actually store multiple arrays. So I store one more array here with the name of, like, just say, let me just copy it again. I don't want to write everything back. I copy it, I paste it here, okay, and then I can write here comma, after pink brackets I can make one more array here, and I can just copy paste this. Okay, and now here you can actually see that this data, okay, Rahika and Radha, this data is completely separate from these three data. Okay, so we can actually figure out who is in which class based on our own few rules. Okay, we can create a few rules that suppose that we are actually inserting the names based on the class number. Okay, so class 1 will be the first entry in the array. Okay, the class 2 will be the second entry in the array, right? But since the indexing is of course 0 based, so we will actually just, you know, say that okay, on the position 0 we have class 1, on the position 1 here we have class 2. So this is how we can actually solve our issue, right? So how are we going to access Rahika? Like, just say we want to access Rahika. Okay, so what we can do is we can do the same thing. Okay, let us see how where Rahika is here. Okay, so in the names 2D array, okay, which means this yellow bracket array, we have Rahika here. Okay, Rahika here is in the first position element of yellow bracket array. Okay, now in the pink bracket array, Rahika is on 0th position. Okay, so first we will go in the yellow bracket array. Okay, we will take the first element, that is this complete element, and then inside of this complete element Rahika is at 0 level or 0 position. Okay, so how are we going to access this? We are going to simply get this like this, names 2D. Okay, then we are going to, in the yellow bracket we have this, okay, the first position, so we will add it here first. Now this complete thing, okay, this complete thing is actually an array. So if I just console log it, console.log, okay, and if I just run it right here, you will see that this is what we are getting. Okay, so console.log of names 2D with 1 is actually giving us an entire array. Okay, now we are trying to get Rahika after this, right? So what we can do is from this array we are going to get the element at 0 position, because Rahika is at 0 position in this array. And if we run it again, so I run it again, okay, and sorry, yeah, as you can see that we have Rahika here. Okay, we are able to console log, or we are able to get Rahika explicitly. So this is how arrays in TypeScript work. Okay, this is basically the use case, the need of arrays, and how arrays function, what are the functions you are going to get in the arrays, how to add, delete, you know, shift and shift values in the array, what are multi-dimensional arrays, you know, all these kind of things we have discussed in this video. And we have also touched a little bit on the advanced topic of multi-dimensional arrays with the help of 2D arrays, by creating 2D arrays. So yeah, it is a pretty information packed video. You might actually need to look at this video a little bit more, like again and again, to actually just understand everything, because there is a lot happening here in this video. So yeah, just feel free to actually look at the video again, okay, because I do not expect you to understand everything just by looking at something once, okay. You will have to practice, you will have to go at things again and again. Now that we have all this code in our TypeScript playground editor, let us first of all try to run this in our local machine, okay. So I will just copy all this code here, and I'll go to the Visual Studio Code, and let's just go to the folders first, okay. So in my documents folder, I have created a YouTube TypeScript folder, and in this video I'm just gonna create a new folder, okay. So let's just say the new folder will be arrays. Oh sorry, not here, not here. So I'm just gonna create a new folder in that primitive types, okay, because array is one of the primitive types, okay. So I'll just go ahead and say new folder is arrays, okay, arrays, and in this folder we are going to write code. So basically I'm just gonna go to the Visual Studio Code, and I will basically drag and drop this folder here, and now let us actually start creating code, or basically creating file. So basically we are just going to run whatever code we just wrote. I'm gonna create a new file here. I just say index.ts, okay, TypeScript file, and I'll just paste every code here, okay. Now we are going to just run it here to see how to run things in your local machine. Now first of all, we will have to use TypeScript compiler to compile all this code into JavaScript code, because TypeScript by itself does not really do anything, okay. You actually have to create a JavaScript file from all this TypeScript code, and then you run that JavaScript file. So I will open the terminal here, okay. I'll just say tsc. If you don't know how to install TypeScript, you will have to see the previous video. We talked about this kind of stuff in that video. So tsc index.ts, okay. So we are going to use the tsc or TypeScript compiler to compile all the code in index.ts into a JavaScript file. Enter, and you can see that we have a JavaScript file, okay, index.js now. And index.js is what we actually run on every production server, okay. You don't run TypeScript on production servers, you actually run JavaScript. So now what we can do is we can say node index.js, and as you can see that we are getting all the logs that we are actually console logging in our code, okay. So we are console logging we are console logging the names array, and then we are console logging Rahika here. So we are getting that output here. So this is how you actually write code and then run it in your local machine with the help of TypeScript compilers. Of course, if you are using some kind of framework like Next.js, Svelte, Remix, or Astro, these frameworks actually handle all these stuff behind the background on their own. You don't have to worry about this kind of compilation and all these things. They can do it themselves. You just have to worry about writing TypeScript code. So this is what we wanted to talk about in this section. Now in the next section, we are going to see what is any type and what is no implicit any, okay, in TypeScript. So we will meet in the next section. Till then, bye.